Hello, everyone. This is your host, Ian Rachiele for IJR Sports. And this is the IJR Sports Show for December 4th, 2016. There's a lot of great things we could talk about as I will be recapping all of the action in the NFL Week 13. A lot of storylines I can talk about. And my secondary main topic is going to be my opinion on the Final Four in college football and the reason why I think one of those teams should not be in the Final Four. But first, I want to address something that everyone on Twitter was messaging me about. Tom Brady, he won his 201 game today. All right, it was against the Rams, and he won his 201 game. And you know what? Tom Brady, he is the greatest of all time. I've said that for a while. And honestly, I think that it's something that people need to talk about. Because he is the greatest of all time, and if people say otherwise, and that's because you don't like him. Okay? There's really no other way to explain it, is there? I mean, unless you don't like Tom Brady, it's really hard to say why he isn't the best. Okay? All right? Because to me, he is the greatest quarterback of all time, and I don't think there will be anything that changes that. Okay? And think about today. Tom Brady, he had 269 yards, 1 touchdown in their 26-10 win over the Los Angeles Rams. And Tom Brady, the way I look at it is that, A, my Facebook keeps going off, so I will apologize about that, and actually I will fix that real quick. Yeah. For anyone hearing that in the background, I will fix that Facebook thing popping up in the background. I will fix that. Yeah, see what I mean? Like, I can hear it through my headphones that it's on, so I will fix that real quick. Now, back to what I was saying about Tom Brady.
Now get 50% off.
Okay. Tom Brady, he became the NFL career leader in victories, winning his 201st career game. And I think that solidifies him, if anybody had any doubt of him being the greatest quarterback of all time. Okay. And also, Patriots are 10-2 on the season. They're gonna have the number 1 and number 2 seed, I believe. And you know what? The Patriots, I think they'll be a really big threat to get into the Super Bowl for the AFC. Them are the Raiders. All right. Speaking of, I will actually get into the games real quick, but let's also discuss this tight race that we have in the division in the AFC South. Okay, in the AFC South, we had the Tennessee Titans and the Houston Texans. And for anyone who doesn't know, the Packers, they beat the Texans today 21-13, and they're both now 6-6. The Packers and the Texans both are 6-6. And you look at the Titans. You look at the Tennessee Titans record, and if I'm going to say this, it's a very tight race for the AFC South. The Titans and Texans are tied. The Colts, depending on if they beat the Jets on Monday, they could be tied with the Titans and the Texans. And I think that would be huge for the AFC South, having 3 teams tied for the division. Okay? And honestly, I think the Titans and the Texans, that would be a very tight battle. Colts as well. I don't have a team that I will say will win the division. But all I'm going to say is that when it gets down to Week 16 and Week 17, it will be decided. And I think it'll be a great way to settle the AFC South between those 3 teams. All right. With that being said about the AFC South and that division race that they are in, let's get into the games for Week 13. I also want to say thank you to people who watched my NFL Week 13 picks yesterday. But let me start with my favorite team. Let's start with the team that I always support, and that is the Bears. The Bears, they beat the San Francisco 49ers today, 26-6. And yes, I know the Bears are 3-9, but anytime you get a win, it will make me happy, okay? And I'm extremely happy that my Chicago Bears have won a game. We're still 3-9, but I'm just happy. And hey, did anybody watch the game? Joshua Bellini, he almost had 100 yards receiving for the Bears. Jordan Howard, oh my gosh, Jordan Howard, a rookie running back from Indiana. He had 3 touchdowns. First Bears running back to do that since Matt Forte a couple of years ago. And he had 117 rushing yards. And about the 49ers, they benched Colin Kaepernick during the game, and they replaced him with Blaine Gabbert. That didn't change anything. In fact, if we got a safety late in the game because of that by a rookie, Leonard Floyd. All right, so besides my Bears, let's get to the rest of the games. Kansas City Chiefs, they beat the Atlanta Falcons 29-28. Chiefs go to 9-3, and the Falcons go to 7-5. Honestly, I was really impressed with Eric Berry when it came to his defensive play for the Kansas City Chiefs. But I was also impressed with Travis Kelce. 140 receiving yards for Travis Kelce. And I'm just going to say this for me. Travis Kelce, thank you for saving my fantasy this week. Okay? I was facing my cousin this week in fantasy. Travis Kelce got me 14 points. And I will say that I beat my cousin in fantasy this week due to part to Travis Kelce. So thank you, Travis Kelce, for saving my fantasy this week. Okay. Okay. Let's get into the next game. The Detroit Lions versus the New Orleans Saints. The Lions, they go to 8-4, and they beat the Saints 28-13. Saints are down to 5-7. You know what? Matthew Stafford, he had 340 yards, 2 touchdowns. Golden Tate had 145 receiving yards and a TD, especially that long touchdown that they had between those two. But I was more shocked about Drew Brees. All right? Man, Drew Brees, he had 3 interceptions. I don't even think he had a touchdown on the day. And that kind of concerns me. You know, Drew Brees, 3 interceptions, and he did not look good for the New Orleans Saints today. In fact, I am looking at my notes, and Drew Brees did not have a touchdown for himself. So the way I look at it, I'm kind of concerned for Drew Brees. You know, 3 interceptions on the day against Detroit. And with them being 5-7, them being in the playoffs, it's going to be very hard to do. Next game, the Denver Broncos versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. 20-10. Broncos go to 8-4, and the Jaguars to 2-10. Man, Jaguars fans, they were hyping up the Jaguars so much during the preseason. Now they have nothing to talk about. In fact, my friend who was a Jaguars fan at the beginning of the year, he has not said a single thing to me, and I've messaged him a couple of times. So I think he went into hiding. And hey, when Blake Bortles throws 2 interceptions and no touchdowns, I guess that's kind of what you got to do, right? Next game, the Cincinnati Bengals, I guess they came back to life, and they defeated the Eagles 32-14. Bengals are now 4-7-1, and the Eagles are 5-7. Man, what's going on with the Philadelphia Eagles? Can anybody tell me, like, what happened between those two? Like, the Philadelphia Eagles had 3 straight losses. Carson Wentz does not look like anything he did the first 2 or 3 weeks. And one of my friends who's an Eagles fan, he would not shut up about the Eagles. And guess what he's been doing now for the past 3 weeks? Yeah, he has been completely silent. And to be honest, I don't like when people do that. You know, I don't like when your team's being successful, you're cheering, you're rooting for them, and then the second they start losing, you're completely dead silent. Yo, I don't like that. You know, shout out to Jerry, though. The Bengals won, so shout out to him. Next game, the Baltimore Ravens, they beat the Miami Dolphins 38-6. Both teams are now at 7-5. And fun fact, Joe Flacco has never lost to the Miami Dolphins. That's an interesting fact that I just found out. Joe Flacco, he has in his whole career has not lost to the Miami Dolphins. And hey, maybe that's a good thing for him because he had 380 yards and 4 touchdowns on the day. Dennis Pita, who barely does anything at the tight end spot, he had 2 touchdowns and 90 yards. So good job for him. And then the game that my grandma was watching earlier today, the Oakland Raiders beat the Buffalo Bills 38-24. Derek Carr had 2 touchdowns, 260 yards. Crabtree had a touchdown. Cooper had a touchdown for the Raiders. Raiders are now 10-2. The Bills are now 6-6. The only spotlight for the Bills that LaShawn McCoy had 130 rushing yards for them. So that's the only positive, and you're still 500. And the other 2 games I can talk about, the New York Giants, they lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers 24-14. Giants are now 8-4. Steelers are now 7-5. And hey, this was a battle of the draft class of 2004. You had Eli Manning, who was the first overall pick. He was chosen by San Diego, but regardless, he was the first overall pick. You had Ben Roethlisberger, who was chosen in the mid-first round by Pittsburgh. And I guess Ben Roethlisberger showed who was the better quarterback on the day. You know? But hey, Pittsburgh, they did great. Le'Veon Bell, he had 118 rushing yards. Ladarius Green, their tight end, had 110 receiving yards. He had a TD. Big Ben had almost 300 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. And you know what? That AFC North is getting very, very close. 7-5 record for the Ravens and the Steelers. And I'm going to say it's going to come down to the wire at the end of the season. And the next game is this. Arizona Cardinals, they beat the Washington Redskins 31-23. Cardinals are now 5 wins, 6 losses, and 1 tie. And the Washington Redskins with 6 wins, 5 losses, and 1 tie. Carson Palmer, he had 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. David Johnson had a touchdown. And think about this for David Johnson. David Johnson had 2 touchdowns, 1 receiving and 1 rushing. And I think he had 150 yards total. So that's great for Arizona. I don't know what they can really do, playoff-wise. And I don't even think they have a chance, if I'm going to be honest. But you know what? Whatever you do to keep your hopes up, and, you do that. And the next matchup, and I'll say this, hey, Buck Flair, I'm happy for you. Your team won. And hopefully I could be on the Buck Flair show. Or you can be on the IJR Sports Show. All right. His Buccaneers, they beat the Chargers 28-21. Chargers are now 5-7. Buccaneers are 7-5. And hey, the Buccaneers, they are still alive. In fact, actually, the Falcons and the Buccaneers are tied in the division right now for the division lead. So you know what? Don't give up on the Buccaneers yet. Don't give up on them, because I haven't. In fact, I would be happy the Buccaneers won the NFC South. All right. And I was really impressed by Cameron Brate. I know a lot of people have, been a lot beforehand, but Cameron Brate, very impressive. And the Sunday night game, which is actually about to kick off in about 10 to 20 minutes, Carolina Panthers versus the Seattle Seahawks. I personally have the Seahawks winning this matchup, and the consensus said so as well. And it's going to be a great game. In fact, I'm going to watch it as soon as this ends. All right? Once this ends, I will be watching the Sunday Night Football game like I normally do. Okay. Now, let's get into your topics. All right, so let's get into this. Okay, let's get into this. Okay, Ian, out of these teams, who do you think is the best out of them all? Chicago Cubs, Cleveland Cavaliers, Golden State Warriors, or Alabama? Is this really a question? Everybody knows I'm a Chicago Cubs fan, okay? Everyone knows I'm a Chicago Cubs fan, all right? So, what kind of question is that? Of course, Chicago Cubs. Of course, Chicago Cubs are the best, all right? Everyone knows that. And you're asking a Cubs fan this, so yeah, I'm going to be biased. All right? All right, so who do you think has the first seed between the Raiders and the Patriots? I think I've read somewhere that the Raiders, because of strength of schedule, have the first seed. Yeah, hey, producer Mike, I'm going to give you a shout out real quick. Hey, producer Mike, isn't that true? Isn't the Raiders the first seed because of strength of schedule? Isn't that what I heard? That's what that's what it has in the notes. So the Raiders, they have the first seed because of strength of schedule. All right. Between the Falcons and the Buccaneers, who do you think will win the division? It's very hard to say, but I would be very happy for the Buccaneers if they did, because I do have people who are a fan of the Buccaneers. I don't really know a lot of Falcons fans, but you know what? The Falcons won or the Buccaneers won, that'd be great for them. But if the Buccaneers won, that would be great because of Buck Flair. So there's that. Okay, who do you think won between the Browns and the bye week? Hashtag AskIJR. I think it was a very close game, but I will say the Cleveland Browns probably beat the bye week, and they probably got one win on the season, all right? Okay? That's what I think happened, all right? So what I'm going to do is the Browns, they now have one win one win, okay? So one win in the win column for one win in the column for the Cleveland Browns. They beat the bye week. There you go. Good job. Okay, Ask IJR between Floyd Mayweather or Conor McGregor. Yes, I do know he got his boxing license. I did read that. But let's be honest. If it's in a boxing ring, it'll be Floyd Mayweather. Okay? And that's the only way to say about it. Okay? If it's in a boxing ring, it'll be Floyd Mayweather. If it's in a UFC ring, it will be okay. All right. If it's in a UFC ring, it will be Conor McGregor. That's the only way you got to talk about it. Okay. 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 Give us your thoughts on the Buccaneers and Chargers game. I already did. So if you want to go back to 1 or 2 minutes, I actually was talking about that and I did discuss it. But thank you. Thank you. Okay, can you read us the bowl games? At hashtag AskIJR. You know what? That is actually what I was just about to get to. I will be going through all the bowl games right now. Okay? So what I will be doing is I'm going to go through the bowl schedule right now, and I will be giving a very, very important update on IGR Sports and something that I have been granted to do, and it's something that I really want to do. First, let's start off with the Fiesta Bowl, which is Ohio State versus Clemson. Clemson was the 2 seed. Ohio State was the 3 seed. And then we got the Peach Bowl, the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. You have number 1 Alabama versus number 4 Washington. Now, I'll read the rest of the bowl games in a little bit, but what I'm going to get to is my secondary main topic. I honestly don't think that Washington should have been in the Final Four. Personally, I don't believe that Washington should have been over Penn State or Michigan. You look at Michigan, you look at Penn State, and I feel like their strength of schedule was a lot better. Their opponents were a lot better, and Washington just did not impress me at all this season. Okay? You look at Penn State, they beat Ohio State, which is in the Final Four. And you look at Michigan, and they barely lost to Ohio State, who is in the Final Four, by double overtime. So can someone seriously tell me how Michigan and Penn State, who Penn State beat Ohio State, and Michigan in a overtime lost to Ohio State, someone please tell me how those two should be behind Washington, who, I'm going to be honest, has not impressed me one bit. And someone from Washington, someone who's a Huskies fan, probably Nathan White, he'll probably come in here and be like, oh, no, they did this, and they did this, and they did this. It doesn't matter. Washington did not impress me, and I honestly think that Penn State or Michigan should have been in the Final Four instead of Washington. Now let's get into the rest of the bowl games. You have the Air Force Reserve Celebration Bowl. You have North Carolina Central versus Grambling, and this will be at the Georgia Dome in Atlanta. Next, you have the Gildan New Mexico Bowl. You have New Mexico versus Texas San Antonio. Okay? And now the next game is what I'm just about to get to, and I am happy to announce that the IJR Sports will be doing the IJR Sports Show live at the Las Vegas Bowl on December 17th. Okay? At 6 p.m. Pacific, which will be 9 p.m. Eastern, IJR Sports will be doing the IJR Sports Show live at the Sam Boyd Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. Okay? And I am very happy to announce this because I think this will be a great thing for IJR Sports. Be able to do a show at the Las Vegas Bowl live. What this will be is 30 minutes after Houston versus San Diego State, okay? Houston, San Diego State are in the Las Vegas Bowl, and 30 minutes after that game ends, I will do IJR Sports show live. It's a great opportunity for me, and I think that it will be a great game. Houston, San Diego State will be a great game. I'm very happy to go to it, and I will be interviewing a lot of people throughout the day because I will be there all day on December 17th, getting interviews and shooting footage for it, and it'll be a lot of fun. And if you are at the Las Vegas Bowl and you do see me, you can say hi. I will talk to you. But let's move on to the rest of the bowl games. The Raycom Media Camellia Bowl, Appalachian State versus Toledo, and this will be in Alabama. The AutoNation Cure Bowl, UCF versus Arkansas State, and this will be at Camping World Stadium in Orlando, Florida. Next, and this is the last bowl on December 17th, you will have the R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl, and you will have Southern Mississippi versus Louisiana Lafayette, and this will be at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome in New Orleans. December 19th, you're going to have the Miami Beach Bowl at the Marlins Park in Miami, which is where the Orange Bowl used to be, and you will have Central Michigan versus Tulsa. December 20th, you'll have the Boca Raton Bowl between Memphis and Western Kentucky, and this will be at the Florida Atlantic Stadium. Okay? December 21st, you'll have the San Diego County Credit Union Poinciana Bowl between BYU versus Wyoming. Now, here's a side note. Just because I am doing the Las Vegas Bowl doesn't mean I won't have a chance to go to any of the games in San Diego or Santa Clara. The Poinciana Bowl, so the Poinciana Bowl, the Holiday Bowl, and the Foster Farms Bowl, those 3 games I still have a chance to go to. And if I have enough money, I could possibly go there and just have a good time. Okay? So I will let everybody know if that is possible for me and my family to go to San Diego or Santa Clara to go see a bowl game. I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna say it's 100%, but it's possible. But the Poinsettia Bowl, BYU versus Wyoming, it's going to be in San Diego, Qualcomm Stadium. December 22nd, famous Idaho Potato Bowl, Idaho versus Colorado State. And this will be at Albertson Stadium at Boise, where Boise State plays. December 23rd, the Popeyes Bahamas Bowl, and this will be in the Bahamas, and it will be Eastern Michigan versus Old Dominion. And I've actually seen this game, and man, that stadium looks dope. I don't care what anyone says. That's a dope stadium. All right. The next game is the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl. You have Louisiana Tech versus Navy, and this will be at Ammon G. Carter Stadium in Fort Worth, Texas, where TCU plays. Next, you have the Dollar General Bowl, Ohio versus Troy, and this will be in Mobile, Alabama. All right. Okay, and I honestly think that could be an interesting game. Maybe. The next game, December 21st, Hawaii Bowl on December 24th, and it'll be Hawaii versus Middle Tennessee, and it's going to be at Aloha Stadium in Honolulu. Now, I've actually watched UNLV face Hawaii in that stadium, and I personally like it. I think it's a great stadium, and it'll be interesting to see. December 26th, you have the St. Petersburg Bowl. You have Miami, Ohio versus Mississippi State. And this will be at Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, Florida, where Tampa Bay Rays play. Next, you have the Quick Lane Bowl, Maryland versus Boston College. And this will be at the Detroit Lions Stadium in Ford Field in Detroit. Next, you have the Camping World Independence Bowl between North Carolina State and Vanderbilt. And this will be at Independence Stadium in Louisiana. December 27th, you have the Zaxby's Heart of Dallas Bowl. And you have North Texas versus Army. This game stands out to me because that's the bowl game that UNLV went to a couple of years ago. And they did face North Texas, which is kind of symbolic. And the stadium is at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. The 3 other games that are going to be on December 27th, the Military Bowl between Temple and Wake Forest, and this will be at the Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium in Annapolis in Maryland. The next game will be a National Funding Holiday Bowl between Minnesota and Washington State, and this will be in San Diego, Qualcomm Stadium. I could possibly go to that game or the Poinsettia Bowl, but I will let you know if anything does happen. And one of the big games that I think a lot of people will watch is the Motel 6 Cactus Bowl between Boise State and Baylor. And that will be at Chase Field in Phoenix, basically where the Diamondbacks play. And actually, I think it'll be a great game to see. December 28th, you have the New Era Pinstripe Bowl. Honestly, I think you should just call this the Yankee Bowl or the Bronx Bowl, because this has Pittsburgh versus Northwestern and it's played in Yankee Stadium. I can understand the pinstripes. They don't want to call it Yankee or Bronx, but I think you should call it the Yankee Bowl. New York Yankees Bowl. Okay? Because you're playing in Yankee Stadium. The next bowl is the Russell Athletic Bowl, and you have West Virginia versus Miami, and this will be in Orlando. Next is the Foster Farms Bowl, Indiana versus Utah at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, California, home of the 49ers. And an interesting fact, my grandpa, he went to University of Utah, and honestly, I kind of want to surprise him, and I want to go to that game and surprise him. But honestly, I don't know if I can do that. It'd be great because my grandpa, like I said, he went to University of Utah, and I think it'd be a really good thing to do is surprise him and go to Santa Clara and go to San Francisco, Levi Stadium, and watch Utah versus Indiana. But if not, then we'll just go to Las Vegas Bowl instead. Next is the AdvoCare Texas Bowl between Texas A&M and Kansas State. And this will be at NRG Stadium in Houston, Texas, home of the Houston Texans. And the Texas Bowl has always been a great game. It's always been a great game, so that would be very cool to see. December 29th, you have the Birmingham Bowl, South Florida versus South Carolina at Legion Field in Birmingham. The Belk Bowl, Virginia Tech versus Arkansas, and this will be at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina, home of the Carolina Panthers. That could be a very interesting game. Next, you have the Alamo Bowl between Oklahoma State and Colorado. And this will be at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. And this could possibly be one of the best games of the whole bowl season. I'm not kidding. I think this could be a really great game, Oklahoma State and Colorado. December 30th, you have the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, Georgia versus TCU, and this will be at Memphis, Tennessee, and that could be very, very interesting. You have the Hyundai Sun Bowl between Stanford and North Carolina, and this will be at the Sun Bowl in El Paso. Next, and this is a game that I really want to talk about because I have some friends who are fans of both teams, and I'm wondering how they're gonna play this out. The Franklin American Mortgage Music City Bowl between Nebraska and Tennessee. Now, I'm in this group. It's called Sports Talk, and if you are not in it, why are you not? But the one of the admins, he is a longtime fan of Tennessee, and two of my friends in that group are fans of Nebraska. I wonder if those three will ever, interact on December 30th in that game. And if they did, that would be freaking awesome to see those three interact. But if not, then oh well. And this will be at Nissan Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee. But I think it'll be a great game. The next is the Nova Home Loans Arizona Bowl, South Alabama versus Air Force, and this will be at Arizona Stadium in Tucson. And now let's get into the Big Six. The Capital One Orange Bowl between Michigan and Florida State, and this will be in Miami. Next, you have the Cotton Bowl Classic between Western Michigan and Wisconsin. And this will be at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. And by the way, that's where the Cowboys play, for anyone who doesn't know that. But I think people already could figure that out. But if not, just letting you know, it's home to the Cowboys. I'm just happy that Western Michigan is getting the credit that they deserve. I'm really happy about that. And shout out, by the way, to BJ, Western Michigan. I know you're a fan of them, so I'll give you a shout out real quick. Next is Rose Bowl game, USC versus Penn State at the Rose Bowl. My gosh, I would love to go to the Rose Bowl someday. I'm not kidding. Rose Bowl, it's in California, and I would love to come to that game, but I am not someone who has a lot of money, and I really don't have money to spend to go to Rose Bowl. I would love to, but I don't have the money to do that. But I think it'll be a great game regardless. And next, you have the All-State Sugar Bowl, Auburn versus Oklahoma, and this will be at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome in New Orleans. I'll give you a shout-out to my friend Daniel. He's a fan of Oklahoma. So I'll give you a shout out. Congrats to your team getting the Sugar Bowl, I think, once again. And the other games that are not the major bowl games is Outback Bowl, Florida versus Iowa. And this will be at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida, home of the Buccaneers. The Tax Slayer Bowl between Georgia Tech and Kentucky. And this will be at Everbank Field in Jacksonville, Florida, home of the Jaguars. And the Buffalo Wild Wings Citrus Bowl between LSU and Louisville, and this will be at Orlando, Florida. Big implications because Lamar Jackson has declared the Heisman, and that would be a game a lot of people would watch. So, let me know in the comments, or you can tweet me on Twitter at IJR Sports. What bowl game or games are you looking forward to the most? To me, the games that I am looking forward to the most, and this will shock some people. To me, I really am looking forward to the Las Vegas Bowl. I am looking forward to the Poinsettia Bowl between BYU and Wyoming. The Idaho Bowl, because I just love that stadium in Boise State. And personally, I would go there at some time when UNLV goes to Boise State. But I think that'll be a great game just because of how cool and how amazing that stadium looks. in the Hawaii Bowl because I simply just like that stadium and I think it's really cool. They have a bowl in Hawaii. And the other game that I will probably watch is the Cactus Bowl between Boise State and Baylor because I think that'd be a great game to watch. Also Utah because of my grandpa. So that would be the 5 games I will probably watch during the bowl season. All right. And as we end off on that, let me go through some of your questions once again at hashtag AskIJR. Who is the worst quarterback in the NFL? Who is the worst quarterback in the NFL? Should I be biased and say Jay Cutler? Can I be biased for once and say Jay Cutler is the worst quarterback in the NFL? Or are you actually asking for an opinion that's not biased? All right. But no, seriously, if people asking me who's the worst quarterback in the NFL, are you asking me unbiasedly or biased? Because if I'm being biased, it's Jay Cutler. If it's unbiased, Colin Kaepernick. Yeah, unbiased Colin Kaepernick, but if it's biased, Jay Cutler. I will always think he's the worst quarterback in the NFL. All right. Hey, Ian, what would happen if the Cleveland Browns lost the bye week? That would be the biggest disappointment of all time. But according to my sources, they actually did beat the bye week 31-14. So that's good for them. Ian, has there been any MLB free agency news? Has there been any free agency news? Actually, yes, there has, and I actually will address that right now. And yes, someone just said that the game started between the Seahawks and the Panthers, and I will watch that as soon as this ends. But let's get into the news involving baseball. But there has been some things that happened, and the big news that the New York Yankees, they have signed Matt Holliday to a 1-year, $13 million deal. And yes, Matt Holliday is 37 years old. And I think that he will fit into the Yankees' idea of signing veterans. Okay? And you know what? He's a 7-time All-Star. Okay? You know what I mean? Matt Holliday is a 7-time All-Star. He's been great in St. Louis, and I think that he will be a great thing for the New York Yankees. The next thing that happened in free agency for baseball, Carlos Beltran. He has signed a 1-year, $16 million deal with the Houston Astros, and this comes with a no-trade clause. Okay? Okay? So, and I think it's very interesting because if anyone remembers, Carlos Beltran in 2004 was traded from Kansas City to Houston, and in that 2004 postseason, he had 8 home runs during that playoff season, and he went to the Mets the year after because he was greedy. But I'm not going to get into that. But hey, Houston Astros have been busy. All right, they have been really busy. They signed Josh Reddick to a $52 million 4-year deal, and they traded with the Yankees to get Brian McCann, who's a 7-time All-Star, from the Yankees. Okay, so yeah, Astros, they've been pretty busy. In other news, the Los Angeles Dodgers, they are getting close to a deal with free agent Rich Hill. And that'll be very interesting to see how he does. And I've heard that it's a 3-year, $40 million deal. Okay. All right. And you know what? I think that would be really great for the Dodgers because after what happened with him and they acquired him from the Athletics in August of that year, last year. So that's great for them. All right. And there's also some free agents who There's also some free agents that have just been released. Wellington Castillo for Arizona, who used to be a catcher for the Cubs. Ruby Del Rosa, the pitcher for Arizona. Ben Revere, who's an outfielder for Washington. And Tyson Ross, who is an all-star pitcher for San Diego. He also has been released. Okay. Some other news that happened when it came to baseball. Let's see. Mark Rezanecki, he signed a 2-year deal to be with the Seattle Mariners, so he will be a reliever for them for next year. Anthony Recker, who played for the Las Vegas 51s, he signed a 1-year deal with the Atlanta Braves. So I'm happy for him. The Chicago Cubs, they signed reliever Brian Denzing to a 1-year deal. Second baseman Brett Lowry, he signed a 1-year deal with the Chicago White Sox. And the Colorado Rockies signed Jake McGee to a 1-year contract. And another former Las Vegas 51 player, he got signed to a 1-year deal with the Milwaukee Brewers. That was Kirk Neuenhuis. So that's good for him. And current Las Vegas 51's player, Rene Rivera, who's a catcher, he signed a 1-year deal. So that's good for him. And I think that's about it. I think that's about it. And that's about it for the news when it comes to baseball. And we actually only got like 4 minutes left until I got to get off. So I will answer 2 more questions. Okay? So I will do 2 more questions beforehand. Ask IJR, do you remember when Lions fans were asking for Stafford and Jim Caldwell to no longer be on the team? I remember them wanting Caldwell gone, but I never heard nothing about Stafford. Like, can someone, hey, producer Mike, when we get off the air, can you really find me something about that? Because, I never remember the Lions saying they're going to get rid of Matthew Stafford. I heard Caldwell, but not Stafford. And finally, what do you think about the Cowboys clinching their ticket into the playoffs? For Cowboys fans, I'm happy for you, but if you're a bandwagon Cowboys fan, then go F yourself. Because I don't like bandwagon fans. I really don't. Doesn't matter if it's my team or if it's any other team. If you're a bandwagon, then I do not like you. I do not respect you. And personally, I think you're a piece of crap. But if you're a real Cowboys fan, then you know what? I'm happy that you're the first team to punch your ticket into the playoffs. You have a great team. And honestly, I wish you good luck in the playoffs. Okay. We're saying we got, 2 minutes left? So, all right. So what do you think about the Astros making those moves? Okay. What do I think about those moves? That's great for Houston Astros fans. And for me being born in Houston, I'm happy for them. I'm happy for Curtis. I'm happy for Josh. I'm happy for people who are fans of the Houston Astros because they got those free agent signings and they're going to do great. All right. That's great for them. And I feel bad for my friend Curtis because his Houston Texans are making him probably making him think suicide. At least I would. They were supposed to be so great this year, and now they're 6-6, and they're tied with the Titans and the Colts, which is not bad. But at the same time, they thought they'd be a lot better than that. So all I'm going to say is that for the Astros, that's great. If you're a Texans fan, I really feel bad for you because you're probably getting drunk out of your mind. And that's all I got to say. And that is it for the IJR Sports Show for December 4th, 2016. I am your host, Ian Rachiele, and we do shows on IJR Sports every Friday and Sunday. So come back on next Friday, and as I do a show on next Friday, I do picks on Saturday, and I do a show on Sunday. So until next time, I'm Ian Rachiele. and I'll see you next time.